Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Xa Talk Show. Today is 2021, December 15th, and Merry Christmas, guys. Christmas is coming. So today, we don't have a topic yet, and if you like to suggest a topic, you can see in the description and post one of these links. Just type it, okay? So this is Xa Talk Show topic notes. Just type, one of the item in the chat box, and in the first 5 minutes, okay? Then we will talk about it. So I think I'm gonna do a technical kind of thing, working on my website, basically. And while I do that, I'm going to show you lots of tips about Emacs, about programming language design, about kind of random things. Okay, now since there's nobody here, so I'm going to just start random. Okay, so again, if you have a suggestion, if you have one of the type one of the topics. Okay, so let's see Xa Talk Show. So today's talk show, and close that, and the show Xa Talk Show page, close, and this is the ultimate hacking keyboard I'm using. This is ultimate hacking keyboard. Hello, telephonist. Okay, let me talk about keyboard a little bit then. Okay, again, mention a topic. Okay, type a topic. So you looking at my keyboard like right here, and you can see, you go to Xa Keyboard blog. I mention this all the time. Kinesis Advantage 2, my favorite keyboard, my main drive, Kinesis Advantage 2, fantastic. Video reviews and detailed reviews here. And ultimate hacking keyboard, the best keyboard macro. Okay, so let me show you ultimate hacking keyboard. Ultimate hacking keyboard is the best keyboard. It's got the most powerful and easy to use software to configure the keyboard. So I'm using it as a keyboard macro. As you see, you are looking at my keyboard macro for Windows. I had one for Mac. So right now I'm on Windows, so this is my keyboard macros. Most of these keys are defined. And again, I damaged my finger. As you can see, my left hand pinky, not pinky, the ring finger got screwed. Where do I, it got bent like that. So it's like now I have chicken claw. Okay, so ultimate hacking keyboards, fantastic. That's what you're looking at, right? Yeah, so there and my mouse. Okay, so topics. Nice keyboards. Hi, Med. Hello, I suggest constructed human languages. Fantastic topic. Okay, so the topic is going to be constructed human languages, programming languages, and regularity of syntax. Okay. Matt says, how do I really get good at Vim? I don't know if you are trolling or not. I'm not a Vim user. You can get good by practice, of course. Okay, so let's go to the let's start to talk about that topic. Okay, so open Xa Talk Show, and you are looking at me operating Emacs. Okay, using Xa keys, and I'm using Kinesis Advantage 2 keyboard with Dvorak keyboard layout. So Dvorak, you can see keyboard layout. So you can see the keyboard layout here, and I'm using Dvorak. You are using QWERTY mostly, QWERTY Comac. So I'm using Dvorak keyboard, and I'm using Emacs Xa keys. So what is Xa keys? Okay, let me do some advertisement. Pay me. Okay, that's what I'm here for. YouTube Xa Talk Show, you pay me if you think I talked something, you learned something, or you enjoyed the comedy. Buy me a drink. Okay, so you're looking at my Emacs, and Xa keys is a key binding system. That's how I use Emacs. There's a video I did it about a week ago. A full video, a new video on Xa keys. So watch that. And on the pink window, you can see all my Emacs command calls and keystrokes, okay, on the pink window. Dvorak layout. Okay, so now today's topic. Okay, so let me show you. So copy. So you see, let me operate my keyboard macro. So I want to switch to browser, copy the URL. It will automatically. You see, what this macro will do is that it will do Control L to select the URL field. Then it will do Control C to copy it. Okay, so I don't have to control whatever. I just press this key, it does it. Now switch back to the last window. No Alt Tab crap, no Alt Tab crap. I just press a key or move my mouse without click. I'm back to Emacs. Bartholomew, good morning. Haven't seen you for a while. YouTube. Yes, YouTube is a problem, but unfortunately, we are living under the Google's empire. And that's another story. Okay, so anyway, so what we are going to do, talking about the topic. Okay, so let's go to, show the pink window, go to Xa Talk Show, open it, and paste the link here. Delete that block. So this is Xafly keys. Back to the browser. Okay, move the mouse back to the browser. Copy that back to here. Paste. And last window. Okay, so let's talk about this topic. Okay, so the topic is programming topics, language design, formal language. Wait, what? Oh, here, constructed human languages, programming languages, and regularity of syntax. Fascinating topic and the big topic. Okay, for that topic, you go to kasadi.info. Let me show you some articles because we are going to base our talk on some of the articles I've written. So here is kasadi.info website. Let's turn on JavaScript so Google can know everything what I do. So Xa code, you go down, then you go to this section, hacker code. Now this subject matter belongs to the proper category is hacker code. Okay, the things hackers are concerned. Now the word hacker has multiple meanings. It had, to the average person, in USA media, hacker means someone breaks other people's computer. You are a computer criminal. That's what hacker means. That's what the mainstream media wants you to know. Now, according to Richard Stallman, for example, or the classic hacker, the programmers, elite type of programmers, for example, Unix phonetics or Linux phonetics, hacker in 1980s and 1990s and much of 2000s, year 2000s, hacker means a particular type of programmer who are very interested in hacking, like much of Unix things, okay? And that's related to our topic today, hacker. So, language design, that's part of it, hacker interest, okay? So that's what we are going to talk about. So this topic, today the topic is about the programming language design and in particular about a particular aspect or style of programming language design and compare that to artificial constructed human languages design. So let me tell you what this is about. So you see, programming languages, they are artificially created. Of course, they are created by us. By artificially created, that means someone sits down and think of a programming language. C or C++ or Java or JavaScript or Python, Ruby, Rust, Golang, or Wolfram language, the best language, Wolfram language. Watch this video, okay? So these are artificially created. That means specifically, it means someone sit down and designed it, from scratch, basically. So all these languages are artificial languages. They are computer languages. All computer languages are artificial. As compared to, so what do you mean artificial? Well, compared to human natural languages such as English, French, Chinese, Japanese, Russian, Korean, Vietnamese, Spanish. These languages are natural because they developed naturally. In particular, they are not designed. It's not like someone sits down and created the entire language, the vocabulary, the grammar, and everything. So it's not constructed. Okay, so human languages, vast majority of them, in fact, all of them in practice, are natural languages. While computer languages are constructed, artificial. They are created, but they are designed by someone. Okay, so that's about. Okay, so remember now. Let's clarify the logicality of things. Okay, keep your comments going. I love to see your comments, questions. Your comments direct what I'm talking. Okay. Okay, it's great, fantastic. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, fantastic question. There's no. You don't need to apologize or anything, because my talk show, a lot of the people are kind of the, many of them are young and trollish. They came from some of them are from 4chan. So they say random things. Yes, So usually I keep an eye on that. Exactly, good point, Eugene. So Eugene says human languages, some of them are top-down design, not bottom-up. That's true. So that's what I'm going to talk about. But first of all, let me clarify the situation. So we have two. So we are talking about programming languages, computer languages. Okay, that's one thing. That's a language that's a language for the purpose of communicating with a machine. Okay. Programming languages. Now, on the other hand, we have human languages, human to human, okay? Human to human, such as English, French, Japanese, Korean, and so on. Now, both of them, they are all languages. They have a grammar, okay? Now, so among the human languages, okay, that's two things. Programming languages and human languages, two kind of separate things. Now, there is an aspect of design, is it created artificially? So that's another question. So you have some languages that's created artificially, such as programming, basically all programming languages. And some languages happen naturally, such as human languages. So let me write it down. So because it's going to get complex. Okay, so human languages, okay, language. I have a shortcut, so let's magnify. So let's magnify human language. I have a shortcut, but recently I changed the shortcut, but so I forgot what the language is. Okay, so LGJ, that's abbreviation for language in my Cursor abbrev system. So for example, I can show you what. So here is my abbreviation system. There are hundreds of them. So for example, so if you search for language, so you can see, I just type LGJ for language. I have like hundreds of them. Okay, close that. So human languages versus computer languages. Okay, that's one thing. Then you have artificially constructed versus naturally evolved. Okay, let's say evolved, because if you trace the origin of human languages, basically that's what linguistics do. You cannot, it's hard to find like a origin, so because it's tens of thousands years ago, or hundreds of thousands years ago. So anyway, so most human languages are naturally evolved. Okay, now among human languages such as English, Chinese, and so on, human to human languages, so let me write it down. Okay, so human to human, okay, computer languages, human to machine, okay. By the way, now since we are writing this out, it would be interesting, is there a language from machine to human? You see, this is interesting as we go on. So since I'm talking, I never thought of it, because we have a symmetry. Because when we talk about human languages, it's human to human. Both sides are human. So there's a symmetry. But for computer languages, on one side you have human, on the other side you have machine. So there is a two-way. So you can have you have programming languages that's human to machine. Human speaks to the machine. So it's natural to ask, is there a language from machine to human? That's that's interesting to think aspect to explore. Okay, but anyway, so human languages and computer languages. Okay, now among human languages, we also have constructed languages. That is not natural at all. That's not naturally created. For example, what are some of the example of constructed languages? Okay, so examples of human languages that are created, that are artificially constructed. Okay, typically they are called constructed languages now. In the 1990s and year 2000s, they are usually called artificial languages. But these days, the more common term is just constructed languages. Okay, for example, Esperanto. Esperanto, the most famous one is Esperanto, and there's Lojban. Okay, in fact, I have a Lojban tutorial, so let me show you that. I talked about that in my past videos. Okay, actually, yeah, so there it is, Lojban tutorial, but let me show you where to find it. Okay, so you go to kasali.org, you click on Wordy English. So this is my blog. The lure of vocabulary, the depth of literature, the question of style, the logic of linguistics, the ills of English, and the cure by writing. Okay, that's my blog on all these kind of topics: vocabulary, etymology, literature, and writing style, accents, and there it is, Lojban. Okay, so Lojban is a constructed language with a focus on logic. Okay, let me tell you what that is about later. Okay, so actually I did a video before in 2021, April 8th. Constructed languages, English spelling reform, shorthand system. So I'm interested in these kind of topics. And in fact, you see there I mentioned shorthand system, and I just showed you my abbreviations. There are hundreds of them. So right now there are, some 400 of them. So my abbreviation system, they constitute a shorthand system. I'm creating that. I'm using it in Emacs. Anyway, so that's a topic I'm interested. So you have Lojban language. So Lojban, let me explain what Lojban is. Okay, actually the best way, my Lojban tutorial, this is written in 2003. So, it's like written 15 years ago, and I really have not refined the tutorial. So if you want the best way to understand what Lojban or loglan is, you go to Wikipedia. Okay, Lojban, or also known as, okay, so, it was, there was a constructed language called loglan, which stands for logical language. It's a constructed language, meaning that someone designed it from the ground up, okay? But then there's a political infighting about the copyright status of the language. So they went to court, and so they split. So the other group created Lojban, okay? So there it is, okay? So let's open the Wikipedia, okay? So you can see this is an article on the Lojban. Okay, Lojban is a constructed, syntactically unambiguous human language created by the logical language group. It succeeds the Loglan project. Okay, so let's open Loglan. Loglan is original. So Loglan is a constructed language originally designed for linguistic research, particularly for investigating the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. The language was developed beginning in 1955 by Dr. James Cook Brown, okay, with the goal of making the language so different from natural languages that people learning it would think in a different way if the hypothesis were true. Okay, that's one of the big questions in linguistics, which suggests that our thought pattern, what's in your brain, is influenced or even controlled completely by the language you use. Okay, so for example, I grew up as a Chinese in Taiwan. I speak Chinese. Chinese is my native language. Your language, most likely English or Spanish or whatever, right? So if the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis is true, that means I can think of something, the way my brain works is different from yours because our languages are different. That's essentially what this hypothesis is saying. It's possible I might think of something that you will never possibly imagine it because your language is different from mine and vice versa. So that's what this Sapir-Whorf hypothesis roughly. There's a strong version and there's a weak version. Okay, it basically says the language either controls your thought patterns or it influences how you think. Okay, for example, some of the meme example is that Eskimo, the people lives in Eskimo, they have 100 words for snow. That's so if you don't have a word for snow, can you possibly imagine the concept of snow? That's kind of like that's what this Sapir-Whorf hypothesis is about. Okay. So Loglan is an artificial language based on logic. Okay. Now that's another topic because logic, the nature of Loglan, it's strictly based on logic. So what does that mean? So it's basically logic, meaning like mathematical logic. So it has to, it's kind of related to proof, mathematical proofs and so on. It's logic, okay? Logic is an entire branch of science, usually considered even above all other sciences. Logic and mathematics is a science by their own. Like the Gauss, one of the greatest mathematicians, Gauss, says that the queen of science is mathematics. Okay, the queen of all sciences, physics, medicine, biology, chemistry, the queen of all sciences is mathematics. And he also says the queen of math is number theory. Okay, Gauss, okay, one of the most accomplished, usually considered one of the greatest mathematician in human animal history, Gauss. Okay, so Frederick, what's his full name? Look up mathematician Gauss, one of the top 3 at least. So we are talking about Loglan, which is a constructed language. Then a political infighting happened. Political, just like the open source, Free Software Foundation versus open source, and open source Linux distributions. So many of them, infighting. Telling Windows managers infighting. Linux distribution, your distro versus my distro. Ubuntu versus whatever, Arch Linux Gentoo, infighting. So political infighting split the Loglan to become a Lojban. So it's a split. And the Lojban is considered open source, while the Loglan is considered proprietary. That's why they split, infighting. So So anyway, so we haven't started to cover what we are going to talk about, the main topic. Okay, so anyway, so we are talking about there is human languages, there is computer languages, and there's an issue of artificially created versus naturally evolved, such as English and French, and among human languages, human to human, in the past 100 years, in the last 100 to 200 years, some people, usually engineers and scientists, they created out of the blue, artificially, they constructed a language from scratch for the purpose of human-to-human communication. Okay, so Lojban, Laglan, they are two examples of it. And the most famous example is Esperanto. Okay, so let's look up. Okay, Esperanto. So you can look up Wikipedia. So Esperanto. Okay, so let's copy what we talked about today. And I want to copy the Xas Lojban tutorial. Okay. Okay, so Esperanto, I haven't learned Esperanto. So anyway, so Esperanto is a language for human-to-human communication that's created from scratch by design, basically by one person, then or a handful of people designed it for the purpose of human-to-human communication. So why do they design it? Now here comes the main topic of what we are talking about. So Esperanto is designed. So why do these engineers, these nerds, usually these people who created starting about 200 years ago. So you see, 1887, okay, 1887, Esperanto was created, okay. Why do these, and there are so many, there are several others, okay. If you, for example, on Wikipedia, you go to, if you read it, you're easily started to find lots of others, okay. But Esperanto is the most famous and the most successful constructed language, okay. It began in 1887, and it's created a bunch of scientists, engineers, basically nerds. So why do they create it? There's already English with massive number of speakers. There's already Chinese, Spanish, and even French. There's so many speakers. Why do you create something new that nobody, you have to learn? Well, there are several good reasons for it, okay? Because in natural languages, just such as English, Chinese, French, the grammar is extremely complex. There's 1,000 irregularities. It's very difficult to learn. You wouldn't know if you never learned another language. For example, if you start to learn Chinese today, if you are American, or if you are Chinese, you start to learn English, you will start to notice, oh my God, why is this English language one bunch big giant fuck up? So for example, who are you? Okay, so basic example, who are you? But in Chinese we don't say it that way. So in Chinese we say, for example, you are who? You are who is a question mark, so that's what we 你是谁? That's what we say in Chinese. But in English, you have to kind of reverse it. You have to say it that way. So this is one example of well, this is not an example of irregularity, but it's just an example of difference in grammar. Okay, that's not a good example for us. But anyway, for example, there's lots of examples. For example, past tense, present tense, I do. Okay, so I do, I did, I've done, do, did, done. That's, tense differences. For example, chair, chairs, but woman, but it's not woman's, but woman, okay? And so it's not woman's, but it's woman. But however, you don't pronounce the men as men. You have to pronounce it women. So the proper pronunciation for this word is women. Okay, so that illustrates the irregularity. If you were born if you were born speaking English, you wouldn't notice. You think this is natural. You think this is so natural. But if you came from China or Russia, this is fucked up. Okay, and also, for example, I do, I did, I've done. Then you have I read, then I read, then I read. You don't say, for example, I read, I read it. Okay, I read it. I have written, so, if you say that would be much more regular, but we have irregularities, 1,000 of them. So irregularity is and complexity, it takes so much time to learn to pick up all these 10,000 irregularities. That is one of the good reason a artificial language is created. So you see, these visionaries, these nerds, they have a vision, just like, Google. They have a vision for humanity. Why don't we create one single, simple, unified, simple language to rule them all? So all human animals can communicate in peace, in peace and prosperity. That is the vision of most of these people, these nerds, who created artificial languages. Okay, that's the origin. That's the spirit of all these bunch. Okay, maybe I can show some others besides Esperanto. Okay, so Esperanto, so Esperanto is one of them. You go to constructed languages. Okay, so you can see is an article on constructed languages. They feature the concept of Tower of Babel. the nerds, Kong Lan flag. Now they need a flag, Kong Lan flag. They have a Tower of Babel, which is a concept from Christianity and I believe probably Islamic religions and the Judaism or something as well. I mean, because they share one single scripture. So anyway, Kong Lan. So in this page you can see quite a few other examples, and I suppose they classify the different Kong Lan, their purpose, why they are created, the year they are created, and so on. So there are quite a few of them. I started to learn about Kong Lan in 1990s, mostly 1992 to 1995 or to 1997, okay, 1990s. I learned them because I'm a nerd, just like most of you who watch me. I'm a nerd. I'm interested in efficiency. I don't want these irregularities. I want the most simple, efficient language, okay? So that's why I'm interested in constructed lands. Okay, it was known as artificial language, but now it's called constructed land. So I'm interested because I share the vision with these people. We want a unified language for so we can communicate efficiently and okay. So there's many of them. So in 1990s, there's no internet yet. Not really, not like today. So I go to the library. I walk 30 minutes to the local library here, and you borrow books, you read them. constructed languages. So I've studied, I read, I read a bit about them. So constructed language, okay. So one of the reasons, so let's write this down, okay. So let's actually put this into some kind of box. Okay, so we can see we have a record of what we talked about. Now let me mention constructed languages, okay. One of the major reasons for constructed languages is that we can have a language that has the most simple grammar, no irregularities, okay, and extremely easy to learn. Okay, that's one of the major reasons for constructed languages. There are other reasons. For example, another reason is neutral in cultural bias. For example, English is our language, right? But English is full of white people's cultural affiliations, because it's used by English speakers in UK, United Kingdom, and America. So it's part of the, all the words in English is part of, essentially the Western people's culture, mostly. And, so you might say, we don't need a new, artificial language. Why don't we just all learn English? Well, to me, I already know English, so that's great, that's fantastic. But to other people, Japanese, Chinese, Russian or French, they don't want it. They will say, why don't you learn French? Let French be the universal language. Why don't we let Chinese be the universal language? So there's arguments. So one of the reason of the reason of the constructed language is that okay, we understand, you all want your languages, so we just gonna create a new one that's culturally neutral. That is, it's not tied to any particular group of people's culture. So that's one of the reason. They want, they created constructed language, especially Esperanto. Well, not Esperanto, actually. Esperanto is actually, the vocabulary is based on Western languages. Okay, that's a bit history about Esperanto. The Esperanto vocabulary is based on mostly Latin derived languages such as English, French, Italian, and so on. None of the Chinese or Japanese. On the other hand, the Lozhuang or Logland, the Lozhuang vocabulary is not Western centric. Okay, it's based on based on like 10 or so the most popular languages, kind of a random mix. So I'm talking about this, so it shows you that, cultural neutrality is one of the important elements in this constructed language community, because that's true as well, because that's a valid point. You want a language that's socially neutral. So anyway, so back to, let's start to talk about the main point today. Okay, so we talked about human languages, we talked about computer languages, they are different, and we talked about the creation of the language. One way is artificially constructed, usually by a single guy or a bunch of guys. The other way is naturally evolved, such as most human languages, English, French, and so on. Then we talked about human languages that's artificially constructed. And we gave example of Lojban, we gave an example of Loglan, and the most famous example being Esperanto. Okay, some of the big examples. We talked about why are they created and what year they began. This concept, this concept of constructed language, what year, about 100 years ago, the idea began. So we talked about constructed languages. Then we also talked about the reason. What are the reason these constructed languages are created? And, people, nerds are very obsessed about constructed languages. Even today, people are creating more and more because because I know in the past 10 or 20 years, I haven't really been following. In the past 10 years, I haven't really been following the movements of the constructed language community. But I've heard, I know that there are more being created in the past 10 years. For example, some of the other popular constructed languages you might have heard of is Klingon. Klingon from the Star Trek fiction universe, and also Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, they have the Elfish language. Then they also have the language of the bad guy. The bad creatures. How you call them? Lord of the Rings. Tolkien. The J.R.R. Tolkien is kind of a god among many of the Unix hacker types of elite programmers. Okay, there is Klingon, and there's Navi from Avatar. Many constructed language. These are fictional, and these language are created for the purpose of writing a novel. It just so they have a slightly different purpose, reason they are created. Okay, so I mentioned one of the reason. The major reason, one of the primary original reason constructed languages are created is so that you can have a language that's easy to learn, simple grammar. It should potentially increase the efficiency of communication. Those are good advantages. Okay. So now. So that's what we saying. So this is the focus of our topic. Okay. So you see, in constructed languages, so let's talk about grammar. Okay. So grammar, I showed some of the example of grammar. Complex grammar or irregularity in English, for example. We talked about that. Very complex. So people created, constructed languages that eliminates this complexity, okay, as a betterment, as an improvement, a desire for the better. We don't want these complexities. Let's create something that's more regular, systematic, okay. Now, the main point of today's talk show, the main topic, that is the main topic, that is the contrast of the desire in complexities of the grammar between human languages and computer languages. Okay, that's the main point of today. So back to kasali.info. You scroll down, go to semantic noodle. Okay, and let's try to find the article. Programming language design. So programming language idioms and style. So, and here's programming languages and their machine. So what the article we want to find is grammar. Okay, let's just search for grammar. Okay, it's not here. Okay, let's go to syntax. Okay, so go back to start page, syntax soup. So I did several talk shows related to syntax. There it is. This is, I believe, here. Okay, there is the article. Grammar complexity of constructed language and computer language. Okay, so all these articles are related to grammar. Okay, in particular, a systematic grammar. So let's look at this one. I'm going to answer the comments and questions in a bit. Okay, if you have a question for me, tag me. Lingala. So Otrebla says, Lingala, my mother native language. I don't know is like I know. No. Okay, that's interesting. Logical. Okay, Lingala. Let's see. Okay, let me digress a little bit. So what is Lingala? Okay. Oh, okay. So it's a Creole, what they call. Lingala is a Bantu language. I don't know what that is. It's a Bantu language spoken throughout the northwestern part of Democratic Republic of the Congo. Oh wow, you are from there? Amazing. Including the capital Kinshasa and the northern half of the Republic of the Congo. Okay, so Lingala is a Bantu language spoken in around Congo. Okay, it's spoken to a lesser degree in Angola. Okay, and okay, so that's interesting language. Okay, so now let's go back to our topic. Okay, so let's so this article, grammar complexity and of constructed language and computer language. Okay, you can go there, you can read it yourself, but let's not be boring and just read it. So instead, I'm just going to give you a live version of what I think about that. So the issue is this. In human-to-human languages, we find that the natural language grammar, and it's just too complex. It's one fucked up fuck. So we try to make it better by creating an artificial language that does not have this complexity, where the grammar is very systematic and simple. Okay. Now, when it comes to computer programming languages, the situation is reversed. Okay, the situation is like totally reversed for some reason. That's kind of strange. In programming languages, the programmers, us, we don't, somehow for some reason, we don't want a systematic, simple grammar. We want it to be complex. So that's a very interesting question. A very, very interesting phenomenon, okay, to me at least. So in programming languages, we don't want, it seems to be the case, okay. I can't say for sure, but if you observe, the existing languages, C, C++, C#, Java, JavaScript, Perl, Python, Ruby, if you observe, let's go to, let's look at, comp-len perving. Okay, so let's see, programming language tutorial, you look at all these language, Golang, PowerShell, Python, Ruby, Perl, Emacs, Lisp, Linux, Bash. You look at these languages, most of their grammar is very complex. And in fact, not just that, in fact, for example, Python, many construct, if you are a programmer, then among programmers, they tend to even prefer complex syntax. They don't want something simple, that one rule that governs them all. They want more complex fuck. Okay, so one of such example is search for Xali. Okay, list comprehension. Okay, I'm going to explain things. So here's the article, Python list comprehension. But this is a tutorial about list comprehension. Okay, but this is not the one I want. Okay, I want to go to this page. Why list comprehension is bad. List comprehension is a little language. It's an exception in syntax and semantics. Like, yeah, who enter here, all rules don't apply. Okay, that's what list comprehension is. Okay, so let me back up. If you are not familiar, now list comprehension is a particular syntax in Python and other languages. Okay, so you have a special, like very special syntax, a special construct, different from the whole Python language, where it lets you create lists. Okay, it basically allows you to generate a list. Okay, but it's using a very specialized syntax just for this case. Okay, it's like you won't see this syntax anywhere else in the language. Just for this case, you have this special syntax to do this thing. In other places, you might use, for example, range as a function. Function is very general. You might have, Python syntax. You might have, in other places, you have assignments syntax. You have, if syntax, if else. Then you have, calling a function or different while syntax, very different. Basically, almost each one of them is special. So my point is, if you look at, if you are a programmer, you've been in the programming industry, you have been coding, you've been programming for a few years, you know a few languages, and you know what other programmers think. You'll notice that there's a trend that the programmers, with their tools, programming languages, they do not want a systematic simple syntax. It seems to be the case that they want complex syntax. Okay, so this is very different. This is the opposite of what's happening among human languages, in constructed languages. We don't want complexity. We want simplicity. We create constructed languages so that we can reach the goal of simpler grammar, easier to learn, more efficient in communication. But on the other hand, when it comes to programming languages, it seems to be the case that all these programmers, they prefer complex syntax. They prefer lots of irregularities, special cases, such as the list comprehension. Okay, so let me show you an example. What is a language that has a more systematic and simple grammar? Okay, so that would be, for example, Lisp. Okay, that would be, for example, I showed this many times. Let me show you my Lisp code. Okay, so let's go to some top. So can show some Lisp code. So this is a Emac Lisp code. You can see this is a Lisp language. Okay. So here you are looking at Lisp language. The syntax is rather very simple, very, very simple. It's just nested parentheses. Okay, so you have nested parentheses. You have this nested parentheses. You have this nested. Nested parentheses, nested, it's all just nested parentheses. Unlike the Python, where you have if statements in one way, you have for loop in another syntax, you have while loop in a different syntax, then you have functions, functions have this syntax. Then for this generation, you need to have this comprehension syntax, very different. So that is the main point. That is the topic of today's talk show. We have this kind of strange phenomenon where in natural languages, the human seems to want a simple, systematic grammar without irregularities, such as Esperanto, Lojban, and many other artificial languages. But when it comes to programming languages, that's the opposite. Okay, that's the point. That is the point I want to make. That is today's main topic. Thank you for. So that is the topic asked by. Who asked it? Immortality. Great topic. Thank you. So I think that concludes it. So how long have I been talking? For 1 hour. Okay, that's it for today. Now I'm going to read the comments, and that'll be it. Now, if you enjoyed the show, here comes to the important part. If you enjoyed it, buy me a drink. Okay, PayPal, Amazon gift card, and Patreon. Okay. So there's some questions. So what inconsistencies can we find it? What are some examples of inconsistencies in Chinese? There's a lot. It would be hard to explain because unless you know Chinese, because otherwise it will be hard to explain. And also because I was, I'm a Chinese. I was born Chinese or Mandarin is my native language, so I don't see it. To me, it's just natural. I don't see it. This is a funny phenomenon. You don't notice it of the irregularities of your language, of your mother tongue, until when you start to learn another language, you start to notice it. Then, if you reflect, then you think about your language, then you start to see lots of irregularities. The easiest way to see the irregularities of your own language is you try to teach someone your language. For example, let's teach some people English for a year. Let's say it's your girlfriend, which is the best way. You teach your girlfriend the language, or she teach you her language. Then you realize, oh my God, what a fucked up language I have been using all my life. Because she will then ask, what whoever that person will ask, then why is it this way? And but there you do it that way. But then hey, I didn't notice that. You start to find that. Okay, Luis Broro, hello, hi, and okay, that's it for today. Thank you guys for watching. So this Alan says, Alan is actually a certified linguist here. Alan has a linguistics degree. So Alan also speaks Chinese, Japanese, Korean. So, how great, Alan. Do you have overall positive feelings about Chinese grammar? Chinese as well as Japanese, Korean don't have a lot of the complexities of Indo-European languages. Yeah, I can say for sure. So the question is, do I feel the Chinese grammar is, better or something? I feel so, yes. Because it's... so I can't really say, because I feel so because I know it so well, and I feel in general I think it's simpler than English grammar, but I can't say that for sure because I do know, like sometimes occasionally when you actually compare, then I start to see, oh my God, that's screwed up in so many ways. Yeah, so I seems, so basically what I'm saying is that I seems to have the impression that Chinese language, the grammar is simpler than English. Yeah, I guess that's true in general. Yeah, because in English, for example, you have tenses, you have plurality agreements, you have tenses, and those two aspects are enough to say, I believe that's true. Those two aspects are enough to say that the English grammar is more complex than Chinese. Okay, yeah, so I think I believe so. Is that true that Asian Chinese was similar to today's Chinese? I don't know that for sure. Okay. Bye, guys. I think that's it. Can you learn any language that can be good at them all? No, there are people. Okay, so the question, Yasin says, Yasin or Yasin. Can you learn many languages and be good at them all? Yes, I think you can. There are people who have done that, especially because of the YouTube age, the YouTube era. So if you go to, if you are interested in languages, you probably know this already. So you go to YouTube, you search for German or French or whatever, or Chinese. You will find tons of videos talking about them, and you will also start to find polymath, not exactly polymath, multilingual, yeah. You'll see a lot of people who speaks a lot of languages, many of them young, you'll start to see that. And they, yeah. Bye, guys. So let me, I find it very annoying for these programmers, so I kind of despise them. The C and C++ in particular, these type of programmers, C++, Java, Rust, they and the Python, so I as a programmer, we usually have arguments. So join Xali Discord if you haven't already. So we go there, we argue all the day, all the time, as a pastime. That's our leisure. For many nerds, that's our leisure. We go there and argue about trivial things. And it annoys me very much that there are a lot of people, they like this list comprehension crap. They love it. They will argue, oh, yeah, but this is so good. but then then I drive down, or the way I see it. Okay, so I deconstruct it. I take it apart. So what's happening with the list comprehension is basically they want a special syntax just to reflect this case. That's essentially what it is. Okay. So that I don't like it. So I deconstruct it to the most fundamental reasons. But most of these people, they don't see it that way. They don't see it because. So what is the reason a lot of these people don't see it that way? Well, I suppose it has much to do with habit, just like natural human-to-human languages. If you speak English, if you're born with English, speaking English, that's natural to you, or Chinese. You don't see the irregularities. To you, it's so simple, so natural. Okay. so simple and so natural, such as, let's magnify, such as this woman, woman's, woman, women. That's so natural. That's second nature. How can it be complex? I've read it, I've written. It's too natural to you. So these programmers, especially the C, C++, Java, Rust, these type of people, and the Python also, Lisp comprehension. They don't get it. Then there's Lisp too. Lisp, the Lisp people, So for example, let me talk about this. Fundamental problems of Lisp. Okay, so that is my article. You go there. So here's an article, The Fundamental Problems of Lisp, written in 2008. Okay, so now, as you may know, the Lisp is one of the most regular syntax. Okay, for example, I've showed you, essentially everything is just paren. Okay, no special plus sign, no special, whatever. Everything is just parentheses. Okay, Lisp, and Lisp people love it. They will say, oh, C sucks, oh, Perl sucks, oh, Python sucks. The one syntax, the one language to rule them all is Lisp. Why? Because the regularity of the syntax. You see, it's all regular. All you have to do is just parentheses. Make everything so simple. Everything is just a function. Here's a function name, here's a function name, here's a function name, here's a function name. In order to understand this program, what it does, all you have to do is to understand the function names. Function, match string. You see, match overlay, make overlay, overlay put, replace match, concact string, string match. So simple. All you have to know is just the function names. You don't have to learn special printf, the C printf, or this comprehension. You don't have to know that. These people will say that. They think they are the god of languages. But however, these people, they never realize in Lisp you have this special construct too. Like this backtick, like this middle dot, the dot between two things. What the fuck is that? You have that in Lisp. Irregularities, okay? These are syntax irregularities in Lisp. So you have this something dot something. You have this back quote, then parenthesis. Normally you never put something in front of the paren. You see, here's a paren, here's a paren, here's a paren. You don't put something in front of it. But however, in Lisp, you have this special syntax, irregularity. You put a backtick in front of it to mean something. Then you also have this, so you put a quote, then you also have a backtick variation, then you also have the comma variation, then you have the comma @ sign variation. So what are these? These are syntax irregularities in the otherwise very regular Lisp languages. Okay, so I find this very annoying. I think this should be banned. I think they does Lisp language no good. I think they should be eliminated. Get rid of them. But when I talk to the Lisp people, they don't think so. They suddenly, they prefer the regularity of syntax. They think it's superior to C. But then when you talk, when you press them to their, a few of them special syntax, they all of a sudden they forgot about it. They say, oh, this is convenient. Oh, this saves typing. Oh, this makes things easier to read. The fucking Lisp idiots. Why does this happen? Because they have it. They don't think. Because Lisp language was like that 40 years ago. They get used to. Okay, that's it. Thank you guys. Bye. shut down in 1 minute. So I'm just clean up, copy what we talked about, clean up. So we talked about this comprehension, make a link, close that, Python loops, okay, Python loops. So this page shows some, syntax of Python, and let me show you guys one language that has least of these irregularities. Okay, so that language, surprise, you would not, you'll be surprised. That language is Wolfram Mathematica. Okay, this language is the most regular, yet the most powerful, flexible. Why is that? Okay, why is that? Let me explain. Okay, but that's it for today. We are shutting down. Okay, so we talked about Lingala, interesting language. Actually, I don't want link. Linguistic relativity, actually that should be Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. Okay, so let's where do we put that? Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. Okay, yeah. So you are looking at my Emacs workflow. So here we have a record of what we talked about. Okay, so close that. Logland we talked about. Lojban we talked about. Constructed languages. Close that. So there's today there's a lot of YouTube. There's like 1 million videos per day, new videos. So you can learn Lojban lesson 3 numbers. This guy is going to teach you Lojban. Okay, nerds, so nerds. So SAS Lojban tutorial, we have that. Practical Emacs Lisp, close that. What is this Saudi website? Close it. Grammar complexity, so copy that, paste it here. Do we have the link already? We don't. So okay, so that is the main topic of today. Showing browser. The grammar complexity of Conlan and Complan compared. So that's what we talked about. So by the way, another, what are some examples of programming languages that has a very simple syntax? For example, so we talked about Lisp, and XML is also one of the example. APL is also one of the example. And Wolfram language is one of the example. Okay, these are languages whose grammar is very simple. Okay, comparatively speaking, compared to all the others. Basically, all the others are C syntax based. C, C++, Java, JavaScript, Python. We can count Python in Python and C# and Perl and Bash, well, not Bash, but anyway. So that is why I say that, that's why I don't like Unix and C. I think Unix and C is the granddaddy of everything that sucks in programming. So, okay, so closure, so we talked, so this article, close it. Okay, Elon Musk, I think he's a great guy. And I think he's a great American. He is a great American that he's going to save America among the many corrupt politicians. He is among the great guy, I hope. Okay, that's it. Bye, guys. In stream. Donate, okay? Thank you, guys.